Good morning and welcome back to my channel, Grow Roots. It is a beautiful morning here in North Texas, Zone 8A, and it's been 4 weeks since my very first garden tour in March. So I wanted to show you how the garden's doing and how it's changing and growing, and so walk along with me in my garden. Okay, so here we are. It is mid-April, and if you watched my garden tour from mid-March, you could kind of see that there's just a lot of growth, a lot of things going on. So we'll start where I started last time, right over here. Remember, this is Lambo, as my husband likes to call him, and we had a lot of white pansies planted here, and I hated to rip them all out, but I did need to plant my zinnia seedlings and all of the other stuff that I grew, my seedlings that I grew for this front garden. So I ripped out every other white pansy and left some of them there because they're just thriving right now. And I transplanted them, and I will show you where I transplanted them. But here is the view here. You can see these guys growing. Starting from about here, I grew Thumbelina zinnias, and my plan was that they would border this front garden bed border. So there's like 2 planted in between each white pansy. That's kind of my plan, because as the white pansies die off, they'll die off as it gets hotter, and then I can just take those out, and by then hopefully the zinnias will be kind of up and running and going, and we'll fill in that space perfectly. So I have the zinnias going all the way to there, and there's 2 deep, so there's another row of zinnias behind the first row of zinnias, because I really want a nice thick border right there of the Thumbelina zinnias. And then you'll notice it stops right there, because this is where I have the shade because of the vitex tree. So you can see there's a stark contrast, but from what it looked like 4 weeks ago and what it looks like now. It is leafing out and lots of new growth. I think by next month it will be blooming, and it'll be these beautiful purple blooms. So can't wait to see those. And so in the meantime, I also have my daffodil leaves. Of course, the blooms are gone, but I am leaving the daffodil plant up so that the leaves can gather the energy needed for next year's bloom. And I think it looks kind of nice. Anyway, a lot of people can't stand it once the blooms die, but I think it adds a nice little, different texture to the garden. So that's neat. But we've got the lamb's ear underneath Lambo, and that's filling in really nicely around Lambo. And again, the Thumbelina zinnias will kind of be around that. We've got the perennialized mum here, and I do believe it's starting to form little buds, little blooms already. My mums do this. I know everybody thinks of mums as fall blooming plants, but when you put them in your garden and overwinter them and they come back in the spring, mine start blooming, and it's awesome. And so I get a nice bloom in the spring, and then I cut it all back, and then I get a nice bloom. Well, it kind of sporadically blooms throughout the summer, but then I get a bigger bloom in the fall, which is what they're famous for. So add some mums to your garden, y'all. They're beautiful, in my opinion. I love them. But here's my favorite seedling so far. It's got all these little branches and buds coming, but how beautiful is that little Thumbelina zinnia? And my May night salvia has woken up and started blooming already. Pretty soon this thing's going to be full of blooms. So by next month you'll see these full of purple blooms. But the pollinators Absolutely love this plant, and I'm really excited this year for my May night salvia because in previous years we had these emitters going, so it was overhead watering, and I also think it was too much watering, and my May night salvias, the leaves would just flop. It would still bloom and it was still alive and did really well, but it wasn't upright and perky like you see here, like May night salvia is supposed to be. And I told my husband, I think it's because of the overhead watering and too much water. I really wanted to add a drip system in this flower bed, and we finally did it. You could kind of see right there we have a drip emitter going down that way. I think there's one going this way. There's 4 of them basically that go in a straight line, coming off of these main emitters right here. And so it's underneath watering. It's watering the roots instead of watering overhead, and it's going to fix a couple problems. It's going to fix my May night salvia problem with them flopping, and it's going to fix my zinnia problem because I get like a fungus on my zinnias, and I think it's from overhead watering, just too much moisture on the leaves, and so that will, I think, fix both of those problems. So I'm super excited. The Sunshine ligustrum is growing really quickly. I'm gonna try to keep these shaped. If you can see, I keep these shaped like individually. I don't necessarily want it grown completely together as a hedge. I kind of like them shaped individually. That's gonna be really hard this season. I think they're gonna grow like crazy, but they are beautiful. Look at that. The sun just kind of peeked through the clouds and they're just shining. They're beautiful. Right here. So one thing that I did grow, if you saw my seedling tour, is Gomphrena. And I have salmon pastel Gomphrena planted in between each May night salvia over here. So the hope is that these beautiful purple blooms will also see these really big, like 2-foot tall, pink truffula looking blooms, and I really think that's going to be beautiful. Excited to see those. And then this is right there, a Rudbeckia that I grew from seed, and then that's a little tiny Dianthus. So that's on each side. There's another Rudbeckia. I thought I had another Dianthus down there, but I can't find it. This is a daylily that I grew from bare roots last year, and I did not get any blooms last year, but there is a bloom coming up right there, so that's fun. And that's another Gomphrena, and another Gomphrena like right in between there, behind there. Let's see. So yeah, that's that portion. I think it's coming in beautifully. And then over here is the Burgundy Glow Ajuga that was initially a huge 1-gallon plant, and I divided it into 3. I will tell ya, it did not like being divided initially, and I thought I was gonna lose this plant and that plant, especially this plant. I thought I was gonna lose it. This one did okay, and I think it was the biggest chunk, but transplanting Burgundy Glow Ajuga, at least for me, it was iffy, but I kept them all. They all are doing fantastic now. And if you look right here, it's my little hosta that decided to start growing. I planted that from bare root last year, and I believe it's the Fire and Ice variety. It's beautiful. I love hosta. I've never been able to successfully grow it before, and I'm really glad it came back this year, so that's super fun. And then we've got the variegated vinca ground cover that I put all over this garden bed, or this portion of the garden bed, because it's shaded. I don't have any blooms. I'm not sure if I will get blooms this year because they're just planted, but I love them. I love the variegated foliage, and yeah, so as I'm seeing these pop up, I'm trying to, this is a Vitex tree. This thing is vigorous and I'm trying to form it into a tree shape, and I don't want all of this bushiness at the bottom. So as I see it pop up, which is all the time, I'm trying to pick all those things so that I can keep everything maintained and nice and neat down there, but then have all of my foliage up on top, which is what I want. Coming around the side, here is the endless summer hydrangea, Hydrangea macrophylla. So this winter was beating for hydrangeas, I'm hearing, in North Texas. I think because of that massive drop in temperature we had in December that killed my starved jasmine, all that good stuff. But this is not getting, this is all new growth. And endless summer hydrangeas are still supposed to bloom on new growth. So that's the cool thing about those. But I do not have any blooms on this plant yet. And then I don't see any old growth at all. All the old growth I think is dead. Actually, I haven't done this yet, but let's take a look. The trick is you kind of get a portion of the branch and you scrape it. Yeah, you see how it is brown? That's dead. So I do think usually you don't want to trim these old branches until you get a lot of growth in the spring to see what is alive and what is dead, because if you trim off what is alive, you are trimming off the blooms. You're getting rid of your blooms. So I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go in this thing. I'm gonna trim off a lot of the old dead stuff. And we may not get blooms this spring, I'm not sure, but it is still beautiful. I just love the leaf shape that hydrangeas offer, the leaf color of this one in particular. It's beautiful, and we just have all kinds of growth here. So that is this portion of my little shade garden there. Looking good. This one's looking good. And let's go over here. So this little pot was empty last month. I put one of my, I told you I had transplanted a bunch of these white pansies. One went here and a bunch of them somewhere else, and I'll show you. But it's doing well in that little pot. Like I said, it's not gonna last forever. I can replace it when it starts getting too hot and starts dying off. Here is my pink lantana. Look at that. I got it from Green Acres. I love the yellow and the orange and the pink, and it is just full. Look at all those baby blooms. It's full and it's getting big. And see that this was just a little bitty thing in a pot, and now it's filling out and looking great. Here is my Limelight Standard. It just looked like twigs last month, and now I told you it had all of this new growth budding up, and I got rid of all of the new growth because, you know, each node had new growth coming in. I got rid of all of it, and I'm only keeping 3 for each stem. So there will be 9 stems this year. You can kind of see it's taking on that tree form shape, and then 9 more new stems will come up this year, and then it will start by next year. Hopefully it will take on that tree shape. But I decided, I found these at Walmart. This is Proven Winners. I think it's called lovey-dovey petunias. I've never seen them in a store before. I honestly haven't seen a whole lot of them. Like, I follow Proven Winners, and you know, they're all of the YouTube channels that do Proven Winners plants. I haven't seen a whole lot about this plant, but this plant is gorgeous. And it's grown vigorously since I have planted it. Just maybe a week and a half ago I planted it under there. It's done really well. I probably should have gotten 2 of these. Now that I see, like, it just looks lopsided here, but I did want to put my vinca seedlings. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 vinca seedlings in here that hopefully will fill in the rest of it. So that will be the underplant of the Limelight Tree Standard. And then we've got this guy. which if you saw my March video, has also just completely filled in. Like, it looked bare, you guys. This is kind of what I do. I'm not one of those gardeners that's going to pack in a pot full of plants from the very beginning. I'm gonna be frugal and do just a couple of plants in each pot, maybe even one, like I did with this lantana. Just one is fine with me, and it will fill in. Look how beautifully in just 1 month this has completely filled in, and it looks nice and full and beautiful. So just one more time, this is the new Proven Winners Super Tunia. Goodness gracious, why am I blanking? Persimmon. The Super Tunia Persimmon, which I was very excited about, and it's filling in and doing amazing. And then this guy is Green Acres Calibrachoa Cha-Cha. This guy, I think, has exploded even more than the Super Tunia. I mean, it is impressive. It is beautiful. I love that plant, and I may go back for more. So again, it's Calibrachoa. It's called Cha-Cha. It's beautiful. And here's my pink geranium. Never grown geraniums before. They are blooming. I just cut off 2 of the old blooms from last month, and then now these are all brand new blooms. It's just beautiful. Down here is more Super Tunia Persimmon. But right here is something super fun, and much anticipated for me. It's called a purple bell vine. So if you saw my seedling tour, you know that I was trying to grow purple bell vine from seed. Super difficult, super slow, and I gave up on the seeds. They just take too long. So I found this on selectseeds.com. It's $10 and something, $10 and change for the plant. You pay for shipping. I bought 3 of them, and I made a trellis, but it's already growing. I just planted it this week, y'all, and you can see it's already, so I'm trying to train it to go here. This is a fishing line, and these are anchors. They're, or you know, like a eye hole anchor type thing. And then I have like an espalier type trellis. If you can see it, it's a diamond shape that goes all the way up this pillar and stops up there, and it will grow hopefully all the way up there. And then I will add a fishing line from that hook right there up there that we use for Christmas lights anyway. So the bell vine will go all the way across our entrance and come down on this pillar. If it gets vigorous enough, I may create another espalier trellis on this pole and have it come down there, but we'll see. It's just one plant, so we will see how it does. Super excited about purple bell vine. This is a yellow Calibrachoa. I do believe it's Proven Winners, but I lost the tag. Don't remember the name of it, but it's doing beautifully as well. This guy is one of my blue pansies that seeded itself from my flower bed over here. Last year I had them, and just one came up, so I transplanted it over here. I love the blue with the yellow with the pink. It's like my favorite color combination, I think, for flowers. It's beautiful. And yeah, Super Tunia Persimmon again right there. And then down here, I had to transplant the Super Tunia Honey. It was where the purple bell vine was back there, but I put it down here. It's just not doing very well. It's okay. It's doing better now that it's been transplanted, but it is not thriving, and I'm not sure why. I expected a little bit more from the Super Tunia Honey, but it's okay. The white pansies also look fantastic. And then the mums, you guys, look, I've had to trim them. You can see the front mums are shorter than the back mums because I have had to trim them down so that you can still see the flowers. But again, these guys are forming buds. They're about to bloom. At least the yellow ones are. There's like 2 yellow and 2 red. The yellow ones are about to bloom, so that's fun. Rounding things off, here is where I put all of my white pansies. So I have my boxwoods, which I'm pretty sure were baby gem boxwoods. And then the white pansies in between, daffodils that came up that never bloomed. And so that looks really nice, I think. The white pansies in between the boxwoods. That's pretty. And oh, the bane of my existence right now are these little seeds that are blowing all over our neighborhood. I think they're from the elm trees or the oak trees. I'm not sure. But we had a very windy day yesterday, and got these seeds everywhere right here. A little frustrating. And they will start sprouting into baby trees, so I will have to pick all of those out. But coming up onto my porch, here is that hydrangea that was 11 years old. It is full of blooms. So it's got some growth, old growth, but not a whole lot. So I may go and trim those, but it is full of new growth blooms, and that's what I love about endless summer. And then I've got the variegated lace cap hydrangea, and something interesting is happening there. So something interesting, you see that the new growth here is not really all that variegated, right? Not like the new growth under here. And that's what the whole thing looked like last year when I purchased it. And then this new stuff is not so variegated. I'm not sure why, but here's the really weird thing, you guys. This plant is not variegated, never has been, 11 years old. It's your regular endless summer, right? Watch, look. This is old growth from an old stem from last year. It's variegated, like this guy. What on earth is going on here? There's some kind of maybe cross-pollination that's causing the variegation. I have no idea, but it's so strange. And it's the old growth. So this was an old stem from last year that's getting it. If anybody has an explanation, please let me know in the comments, but it's kind of cool. But this is the only growth on this that turned out variegated. The rest of the growth is all normal. I just thought that was so weird. This has never been variegated before, and then all of a sudden it's put next to one, and there's one spot that's variegated. So strange. And then this isn't all that variegated. Like they're cross-pollinating each other or something. I don't know. Anyway, almost done. I just have a couple new pots out here that this is more of a shade, part shade environment. It just gets kind of morning sun and maybe a little bit of afternoon, tiny bit of afternoon. But I grew coleus, pinto mix coleus, and wanted that on my porch. Look at this one, it's so pretty. But so there's 3 pinto coleus plus a hydrangea that came from the Big Daddy. It rooted itself, so I transplanted it. I'll see how it goes. And then I wanted some kind of a spiller, so I picked up some variegated English ivy and put that in the pot. So again, it doesn't look like much now, you guys, but those pinto coleus are going to get big, and it's going to be spectacular. And I have one more just like it over here. These guys are bigger. I think they get more sun. So this coleus, I love that every pinto mix coleus is different. It's just beautiful. Look at that one. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait until they get big and fill in. But again, English ivy, this one just doesn't have a hydrangea in it. But that will get big and beautiful. And there you have it. So this concludes my mid-April garden tour. I hope you enjoyed it. I plan on doing monthly garden tours all throughout the season, plus different random videos. So please subscribe if you'd like to see more. Have a great day. Bye-bye.